The massive crystal table stretched across the council chamber like a frozen lake. 47 different alien species sat around it, their forms ranging from towering insect-like creatures to floating clouds of gas. At the far end, looking small and out of place, sat Ambassador Dongyun Park. Dongyun kept his face calm as Chancellor Vextari spoke. The alien's voice came through the translation device as a cold, mechanical tone. "The human problem has gone on too long," Vextari said. His four eyes glowed red as he looked directly at Dongyun. "Your species spreads like a disease across the galaxy." The other aliens made sounds of agreement. The insect-like Kythera clicked their mandibles. The floating ethereals hummed in harmony. The crystal beings called architects chimed like broken glass. All of them stared at the lone human representative. "Humanity has 48 hours to accept our terms," Vextari continued. "You will surrender 60% of your military ships. All human technology must be approved by this council before use. Your colonies will be moved to designated areas where we can watch them properly." Dongyun said nothing. He had expected this day for months. The signs were all there. Trade agreements that suddenly became unfavorable to humans. Military exercises near human space. Closed-door meetings that humans were not invited to join. Behind Vexitari, a hologram showed human colonies scattered across the galaxy. Red zones marked where humans would be forced to live if they accepted the terms. The zones were small, cramped, and far from major trade routes. They looked more like prisons than homes. "Your species is too unpredictable," said Corthane, the Kythera representative. Her voice buzzed like angry bees. "You do not follow proper procedures. You change plans without asking permission. You solve problems in ways that make no sense. Humans are aggressive," added Zephyr, speaking for the ethereals. The gaseous being's words floated through the air like whispers. "You take what you want instead of waiting for permission. You fight when you should negotiate." Dongyun almost smiled at that. Humans were aggressive? The Kythera had eaten their own colonies when resources ran low. The ethereals had drained entire star systems of energy. The architects had turned 3 worlds into crystal sculptures, killing billions of native creatures in the process. But somehow humans were the aggressive ones. "Ambassador Park," Vextari said, "does humanity accept these terms?" All eyes in the chamber turned to Dongyun. Some aliens leaned forward, eager to hear his answer. Others sat back, already certain of what he would say. They expected him to argue, to negotiate, to beg for better terms. That was what humans always did. But Dongyun had been talking to Earth for weeks through encrypted channels. He knew what President Heron Jiang had decided. He knew what Admiral Seokjin Choi was preparing. Most importantly, he knew what Dr. Haiwan Nam had discovered about the Council's real plans. "We need time to discuss this with our people," Dongyun said simply. The aliens exchanged glances. Vextari's 4 eyes narrowed. "How much time?" "The 48 hours you gave us should be enough." "Very well," Vexitari said. "But understand this, Ambassador. These terms are final. There will be no negotiation. Accept them or face the consequences." Dongyun nodded and stood up. He walked out of the chamber without another word, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. Outside the chamber, his aide Yuna Lee waited with a worried expression. She was young for a diplomat, barely 30, but she had worked with Dongyun for 5 years. She knew him well enough to read the tension in his shoulders. "Sir?" she asked quietly as they walked down the corridor. "Send the message," Dongyun said. "Protocol Exodus." Yuna's eyes widened, but she nodded. She had hoped it would never come to this, but she had prepared for it anyway. Her fingers flew over her communication device, sending an encrypted burst transmission that would reach Earth in minutes. Back on Earth, Minho Kim received the message at military headquarters. He was a tall man with graying hair, a veteran of 3 border conflicts. When he read the 2 words on his screen, he felt both sad and relieved. Sad because it meant the end of humanity's time in the Galactic Council. Relieved because it meant they could finally stop pretending to be something they were not. He walked down the hall to Admiral Seokjin Choi's office. The Admiral was studying star charts, already knowing what message would come. Ships were positioned throughout human space, waiting for orders that would change everything. "It's time," Minho said, handing over the communication device. Admiral Choi read the message and nodded. "Send word to all fleet commanders. Begin Phase 1 immediately." Across human space, captains opened sealed orders they had carried for months. Captain Jinwoo Seo commanded a reconnaissance ship near the Council border. His orders told him to begin monitoring alien fleet movements and report any military buildup. What he found in the next few hours would prove that humanity's fears were correct. Dr. Taehyun, working in a secret laboratory on Mars, received different orders. His research into something called Element Zero had been hidden from the Council for years. Now he could finally begin the final phase of his experiments. On the colony world of New Busan, Governor Soo-young-yoon gathered her staff for an emergency meeting. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, "we're going home, all of us, including our world." Her staff looked confused until she activated a hologram showing massive engines hidden beneath their cities. The engines had been built over decades, disguised as mining equipment and power generators. No one outside the colony governments knew they existed. Meanwhile, back on Nexus Prime, Donghyun Park made one final transmission to Earth. "The Council thinks they're solving a problem," he said into his secure communicator. "They have no idea what problem they're actually creating." The 48-hour countdown had begun, but unlike every other time in human history when they faced an ultimatum, they were not preparing to fight or negotiate. They were preparing to leave, and they were taking everything with them. Chancellor Vextari arrived at the council chamber exactly 48 hours after giving humanity their ultimatum. He expected to find Ambassador Donghyun Park waiting with humanity's surrender. Instead, he found an empty chair. "Where is the human representative?" he demanded. The chamber's security chief, a crystalline architect named Shalvar, made a sound like wind chimes. "The humans left Nexus Prime 12 hours ago, Chancellor. All of them." Vexitari's 4 eyes blazed red. "What do you mean, all of them?" "Every human on the station. Diplomats, traders, technicians, even the cleaning staff. They packed up and left during the night cycle. They took their ships and equipment with them. And their embassy? Empty. They even took the furniture." Vexitari felt a moment of unease but pushed it aside. This was expected. Humans always ran when faced with superior force. "Good," he said. "Send word to all council members. The human problem is solved. They have accepted their place in the galaxy." But Shalvar had more to report. "Chancellor, we are receiving strange reports from across council space. Human colonies appear to be moving." "Moving? What does that mean?" Before Shalvar could answer, the chamber's main screen activated. It showed a live feed from the Kithara border, where the human colony of New Sol had been located for 30 years. The planet was still there, but something was different. Massive energy readings pulsed from its surface. As they watched, the planet slowly began to rise from its orbit. "That's impossible," whispered Korthane, the Kithara representative who had just arrived. "Planets don't move." But New Sol was moving. Powerful engines hidden beneath the major cities for decades pushed the world out of its solar system. The planet's 20 million human residents went with it, along with all their cities, factories, and resources. Similar reports came in from across human space. New Busan lifted from its orbit near ethereal territory. New Jeju broke away from the Architect border region. 43 human worlds simply picked up and left, taking their moons and orbital stations with them. Admiral Seokjin Choi watched the exodus from the bridge of his flagship, the Soul's Pride. He was a veteran of 40 years in space, but even he felt amazed at what humanity had accomplished. Moving entire worlds had taken decades of secret planning and construction. "Admiral," reported Captain Yuna Lee from her new position as Fleet Communications Officer. "All colony worlds report successful departure. No casualties, minimal equipment loss." And the Council's response? Confusion, mostly. Some celebration. Chancellor Vextari has announced to the galactic media that humanity has finally learned their place. Admiral Choi almost smiled. If only they knew what humanity's real place was about to become. Dr. Hyewan Nam stood in the observation deck of the research vessel Bright Future, watching the stars change as they traveled through hyperspace. She had spent 15 years studying every member species of the Galactic Council. She knew their weaknesses, their dependencies, and their fears. Most importantly, she knew their plans. Her research had uncovered the truth about the ultimatum. The Council never intended to contain humanity in preservation zones. The zones were meant to be killing grounds, where humans would be slowly eliminated while the Council took their worlds and resources. "Doctor," said her assistant Woo Sung Lee, "we're receiving intelligence reports from our agents who stayed behind." "What do they say?" "Council fleets are mobilizing, not for celebration parades, for military action. They're moving toward former human territories." Dr. Nam nodded. She had expected this. "They think we left valuable resources behind. They think they can just take what we built. Did we leave anything behind?" "Nothing they can use," Dr. Nam said with satisfaction. "Every human installation has a built-in shutdown sequence. Without human operators, they'll stop working within days." Meanwhile, Captain Jinwoo Seo piloted his stealth ship through Council space, gathering intelligence. What he discovered made his blood run cold. The Yao Council had been planning this for years. Not just the ultimatum, but the complete elimination of humanity. He recorded secret communications between Council members, discussing how to divide human territories after the cleansing. The Kithara wanted the agricultural worlds. The Ethereals claimed the energy-rich systems. The architects desired the mineral-heavy planets. "They never saw us as partners," he reported to Admiral Choi. "To them, we were just resources to be harvested when convenient." On the colony ship carrying the population of New Busan, Governor Soo-Young Yoon addressed her people. "I know this is frightening," she said. "We're leaving the only home many of you have ever known. But we're not running away, we're moving toward something better." The ship's massive viewport showed their planet traveling alongside them, its city still glowing with life. Children pressed their faces to the glass, watching their world sail through space like an enormous ship. "Where are we going?" asked a young voice. Governor Yoon smiled. "Somewhere the Council has never been, somewhere they can't follow." She didn't tell them about the Element Zero deposits that human scouts had found in the far reaches of space. She didn't mention the new technologies that Dr. Tae-hyun-oh had developed during his secret research. There would be time for those revelations later. Trade Minister Byung-ho Ryu had planned for this day as carefully as any military general. For 50 years, humanity had woven itself into the Council's economy. Human-designed systems ran Kithara factories. Human-maintained networks powered ethereal cities. Human-engineered processors cleaned architect atmospheres. The aliens had become dependent on human expertise without even realizing it. "Sir," reported his aide, Min Ji-han, "our economic analysis programs are showing the first signs of Council system failures." "How long before they notice?" "The Kithara manufacturing centers will start having problems within a week. The ethereal power grid will begin fluctuating in 10 days. The architect environmental systems will fail within a month." "Good. By the time they understand what's happening, we'll be too far away for them to reach." As the human exodus continued, the Galactic Council celebrated their victory. They had removed the unpredictable humans from their ordered galaxy. They could now proceed with their proper civilized expansion without interference from chaotic human methods. They had no idea that they had just cut out the heart of their own civilization. President Heron Jung stood in the command center of Earth's mobile defense platform, watching reports come in from across human space. Every colony had successfully departed. Every human had been evacuated safely. Most importantly, they had left behind no technology or resources that the Council could use. "Madam President," said her military advisor, General Dae-ho Kim, "the last human ship has cleared Council space. We are officially free." President Yang looked at the star charts showing humanity's new course. They were heading toward regions of space that the Council had declared empty and worthless. Regions that human exploration had revealed to be rich, beyond imagination. "Signal all ships," she ordered. "Welcome to independence." 3 months after humanity's departure, Chancellor Vexitari faced a crisis he never saw coming. The great factories of the Kithra hive were shutting down one by one. The energy networks that powered ethereal cities flickered and failed. The atmospheric processors that kept architect worlds livable had started producing toxic gases instead of clean air. "How is this possible?" he demanded during an emergency council session. "The humans are gone. Our systems should be working better, not worse." Trade Minister Corthane clicked her mandibles nervously. "We have discovered a problem, Chancellor. Our manufacturing systems were designed using human efficiency algorithms. Without human technicians to maintain them, they are failing." "Then, fix them. Use your own people." "We tried. Our engineers cannot understand how the human systems work. They were built using methods that make no sense to us, but somehow produced better results than our own technology." Similar reports came from every council member. The Ethereals admitted that their power networks had been secretly upgraded by human quantum engineers over the past decades. Without human maintenance, the networks were overloading and shutting down entire star systems. The architects revealed that their crystal cities were slowly poisoning themselves because the atmospheric processors required constant human supervision to function properly. "This is ridiculous," Vexitari declared. "We are advanced civilizations. We cannot be dependent on primitive human technology." But the evidence was undeniable. 50 years of human integration had made the Council dependent on human expertise in ways none of them had realized. On the research ship Bright Future, Dr. Hyewon Nam smiled as she read intelligence reports from their agents still operating in Council space. Everything was proceeding exactly as her models had predicted. "Doctor?" asked her assistant Woo-Sung Lee. "Did we plan for this level of system failure?" "Plan for it?" Dr. Nam laughed. "We designed it. Every piece of technology humanity shared with the Council was built with hidden dependencies. They work perfectly as long as humans are there to maintain them. Without us, they fail in cascading patterns." "That seems cruel. Cruel. They were planning to exterminate us and take our worlds. This is mercy. We could have made their systems explode. Instead, we just made them stop working." Meanwhile, Commander Yoonji Kang was making a discovery that would change everything. Her deep space exploration ship, the Far Horizon, had been surveying the regions where humanity was establishing its new colonies. What she found there made her call Admiral Choi immediately. "Admiral, you need to see this," she said, transmitting sensor data back to the Fleet Command. The data showed massive deposits of Element Zero scattered throughout the region. Element Zero was a theoretical material that most scientists believed was just a myth. It was supposed to be the most powerful energy source in the universe, capable of powering faster-than-light travel, planet-moving engines, and weapons beyond imagination. "How much are we talking about, Commander?" Admiral Choi asked. "Enough to power our entire civilization for 1,000 years. And Admiral, it looks like humanity has been quietly mining it for decades." That explained everything. Dr. Taehyun Oh's secret research, the hidden engines under human cities, the ease with which humanity had moved entire worlds. They had been preparing for independence using technology that made the Council's weapons look like stone tools. Dr. Oh himself was working in a secret laboratory on the mobile world of New Seoul, developing applications for Element Zero that would revolutionize human civilization. Matter conversion, instant communication across any distance, and defensive shields that could protect entire star systems. "Sir," said his research partner, Dr. Sun-hee Park, "the Council is trying to track our movements through hyperspace." "Let them try," Dr. Oh replied. "Our new Element Zero drives don't leave the energy signatures their sensors can detect. As far as they know, we just vanished into empty space." Back in Council space, the failures were getting worse. Entire Kithara colonies had gone dark as their life support systems failed. Ethereal beings were dissipating because their containment networks couldn't maintain proper energy levels. Architect worlds were becoming uninhabitable as their environmental Controls malfunctioned. Desperate, Chancellor Vextari authorized military action to capture human technology from abandoned installations. What they found shocked them. General Kyungjae No had commanded the rearguard action, ensuring that no useful technology was left behind. Every human installation had been thoroughly cleaned out. What looked like abandoned equipment was actually cleverly disguised scrap metal. The humans took everything, reported the Kithara military commander. Even the wiring and the walls. They left us nothing we can use. But the biggest shock came when Council scouts reached the former human territories. The worlds that humans had supposedly abandoned were gone. Not destroyed, not stripped of resources, but physically missing from their orbits. They took the planets themselves, whispered Ethereal Admiral Zephyr during another emergency session. How is that possible? Impossible is a human word, said Architect-Engineer Shalvar, making a sound like breaking glass. It means something we haven't figured out how to do yet. President Heron Jiang received these reports with satisfaction from her command center aboard the mobile platform that had once been Earth's moon. Earth itself was traveling through hyperspace toward humanity's new home region. Its population safe in underground cities that could survive anything. Madam President, reported her intelligence chief Minji Han, Council communications are showing increasing desperation. They're sending diplomatic missions to try to contact us. Let them send all the missions they want, President Jiang replied. They'll find empty space where we used to be. The truth was finally becoming clear to both sides. Humanity had never been the junior partner in their relationship with the Council. They had been the foundation that held galactic civilization together. Their primitive solutions had been superior to alien technology. Their chaotic methods had been more efficient than alien procedures. The Council had mistaken humanity's willingness to cooperate for weakness. They had confused human adaptability with inferiority. Most critically, they had assumed that a species capable of surviving on a death world would need their permission to thrive in space. Trade Minister Byung-ho Ryu had spent his career making sure that humanity appeared less advanced than they actually were. He had carefully managed trade relationships to make other species think they were helping humanity, when actually humanity was propping up their entire economy. Sir, his aide reported, Kithara food production has dropped by 60%. Ethereal energy output is down 70%. Architect manufacturing has nearly stopped completely. And they still don't understand why, Byung-ho noted with amusement. They think it's just a series of unfortunate coincidences. Should we contact them? Offer to help? Why would we do that? They made their choice when they decided to eliminate us. Now they can live with the consequences. Captain Jinwoo Seo, still gathering intelligence in Council space, reported the final piece of the puzzle. The Council's military buildup was collapsing, as their ships suffered the same system failures as everything else. Weapons that had been upgraded with human technology were shutting down. Navigation systems were producing random coordinates. Even basic life support was failing on ships that had been serviced by human technicians. The mighty Galactic Council, which had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years, was falling apart without the humans they had tried to eliminate, and humanity was just getting started. 6 months after humanity's departure, the Galactic Council was dying. What had started as system failures had become complete civilizational collapse. The proud alliance that had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years was tearing itself apart. General Woo-Sung Lee watched the destruction from humanity's new stronghold in the Andromeda approach, a region of space that the Council had declared worthless decades ago. His monitoring stations tracked every Council communication, every ship movement, every desperate attempt to restore their failing civilization. General, reported his intelligence officer, Lieutenant Do-hyun Shin, the Kithara are attacking the Ethereals. They blame them for the power grid failures that shut down their hive worlds. And the Ethereals? They're draining energy from Architect crystal cities to keep their own people alive. The Architects are threatening war if it continues. General Lee nodded grimly. This was exactly what Dr. Minji Han's psychological warfare models had predicted. When resources became scarce, alliances turned into competition. When competition became desperate, allies became enemies. The council chamber on Nexus Prime, once a symbol of galactic unity, now echoed with accusations and threats. Chancellor Vexitari could barely maintain order as the member species turned on each other. "The humans did something to our systems," insisted Corthane, her mandibles clicking with rage. "This cannot be coincidence. Your paranoia serves no purpose," replied ethereal Ambassador Zephyr, his gaseous form flickering with unstable energy. "We should focus on finding solutions." Solutions? Architect Representative Shalvar's voice rang like cracked crystal. "Half our worlds are uninhabitable. Our people are dying. We need the energy you're hoarding." The truth was that humanity had done exactly what they appeared to be doing. Nothing. They had simply removed themselves from council space, taking their knowledge and expertise with them. The collapse was entirely self-inflicted, the result of a civilization that had become dependent on human innovation without realizing it. Dr. Haiwan Nam published her analysis for the human leadership, explaining how the cascade failure would continue. "The council species over-specialized over the centuries," she wrote. "The Kithara focused entirely on manufacturing, assuming others would provide resources and technology. The ethereals became energy experts but forgot how to build physical infrastructure. The architects mastered construction but ignored biological systems. Humanity provided the missing pieces that held their civilization together. We were the generalists in a galaxy of specialists. Without us, they cannot adapt to changing conditions." President Heron Jiang read this report while standing in the observation deck of New Earth, the mobile planet that had once been humanity's homeworld. Around them, dozens of human worlds traveled in formation toward their new home region, a journey that would take several more months to complete. "How long before they realize what actually happened?" she asked her science advisor, Dr. Taehyun Oh. "Some of their smarter leaders probably already understand," Dr. Oh replied. "But understanding the problem and solving it are different things. They would need human expertise to fix their systems, and they drove us away. And if they ask for help? That depends on how they ask." The council was indeed preparing to ask for help, but not in the way Dr. O expected. Instead of diplomatic overtures, they were planning a military rescue mission. They convinced themselves that humanity had been kidnapped or coerced into leaving by some unknown enemy. The humans were primitive, but they were not stupid. Chancellor Vextari declared to the Emergency War Council. They would never abandon their comfortable lives in council space voluntarily. Someone must have forced them to leave. "But who?" asked General Mortok of the Kithara military. "Our scouts have found no evidence of hostile aliens in human space." "Then, look harder. Someone took our humans and we need them back." The military rescue mission that launched 3 weeks later was a disaster from the start. Council ships suffered constant breakdowns as their human-designed systems failed one by one. Navigation computers gave false readings. Weapons malfunctioned during combat drills. Life support systems produced toxic air instead of breathable atmosphere. Captain Daeho Kim intercepted the Council fleet while it was still limping through hyperspace. His stealth ship, the Silent Arrow, was equipped with the latest Element Zero technology that made it invisible to Council sensors. "This is Captain Kim of the Human Independent Fleet," he broadcast to the struggling Council ships. "You are approaching human territory. Turn back immediately." The Council fleet commander, a Kithara admiral named Zektar, responded with confusion. "Human territory? You have no territory. You abandoned Council space." "We left Council space," Captain Kim corrected. "We didn't abandon our right to exist. This region is now under human protection. You are not welcome here. We have come to rescue you from whoever is holding you prisoner." Captain Kim almost laughed. Even now, facing the collapse of their civilization, the Council couldn't accept that humanity had chosen to leave. "Admiral, no one is holding us prisoner. We left because you gave us an ultimatum. Submit to virtual slavery or face elimination. We chose a third option. That's impossible. Humans cannot survive without Council protection. We've been surviving. Without your protection for 6 months, our colonies are thriving. Our people are healthier and happier than they ever were under Council rule. We don't need you, Admiral. We never did." The revelation hit Admiral Zektar like a physical blow. The Council had always assumed that they were protecting and guiding primitive humanity. The idea that humans were independent, successful, and better off without them challenged everything the Council believed about itself. Ambassador Sun-hee Park, Dongyun's sister who now served as humanity's senior diplomat, sent a message that was broadcast throughout Council space. Her words were simple, but they carried the weight of humanity's final judgment on their former rulers. People of the Council, she began, for 50 years, humanity served loyally as members of your alliance. We contributed our knowledge, our labor, and our lives to building galactic civilization. We asked only to be treated as equals. Instead, you saw us as a problem to be solved. You feared our independence and sought to control our growth. When control failed, you chose elimination. You gave us a choice: submit to slavery or face destruction. We chose neither. We chose freedom. You are now discovering what the galaxy looks like without human participation. Your systems are failing because they depended on human expertise. Your economy is collapsing because it relied on human innovation. Your alliance is fragmenting because humans provided the diplomatic solutions that held it together. You told us that we needed your protection to survive in the galaxy. You were wrong. You needed our cooperation to maintain your civilization. Without it, you are learning what we always knew. Survival belongs to those who can adapt, not those who demand submission from others. Fleet Admiral Kyungjae No received reports that the Council rescue mission had turned back after losing half their ships to system failures. The remaining vessels barely made it back to Council space, and their crews brought stories of human technology beyond anything the Council possessed. Admiral, reported his communications officer, we're receiving hundreds of messages from Council space. Some are threats, some are pleas for help, but most are just confused. What kind of confused? They can't understand how we're not only surviving, but thriving without them. Their entire worldview was built on the idea that they were the advanced civilizations and we were the primitive ones who needed their guidance. Admiral No understood. The Council's superiority complex had blinded them to the reality of their relationship with humanity. They had convinced themselves that they were helping humans, when actually humans had been carrying them. Sir, his aide continued, President Jiang wants to know if you think they'll try military action again. With what ships? Admiral No asked. Half their fleet can't leave port because of system failures. The other half would break down before reaching us. They're not a military threat anymore. Then what are they? Admiral No looked at the star charts showing the Galactic Council's territory, where entire star systems were going dark as their infrastructure collapsed. They're a cautionary tale about what happens when you mistake dependence for leadership. The galaxy was learning a harsh lesson about the difference between ruling and serving. The Council had thought they ruled humanity, but they had actually been served by them. Now, with their servants gone, the masters were discovering they had forgotten how to take care of themselves. 1 year after humanity's departure from Council space, the galaxy had changed forever. The Great Alliance that once controlled thousands of worlds had shrunk to a handful of core systems. Species that had been spacefaring for millennia found themselves trapped on their homeworlds, unable to maintain the technology that had carried them to the stars. Fleet Admiral Kyungjae No stood on the bridge of humanity's new flagship, the Independent Dawn, watching the final human world settle into orbit around their new sun. The journey was complete. Humanity had successfully relocated their entire civilization to a region of space, rich with element zero and free from Council interference. Admiral, reported Captain Yuna Lee, long-range sensors confirm that 43 human worlds are now in stable orbits. All populations report successful adaptation to their new homes. And our industrial capacity, operating at 140% of our previous levels. The element zero deposits have allowed us to upgrade every manufacturing system. We're producing more food, more energy, and more technology than we ever did in Council space. Admiral No nodded with satisfaction. The Council had feared human expansion, but they had never understood what human expansion actually meant. It wasn't about taking territory or conquering other species. It was about growing, learning, and building better lives for human families. Dr. Yejin Choi, humanity's chief historian, had spent the past year writing the definitive analysis of humanity's relationship with the Galactic Council. Her conclusions were both simple and devastating. The Council made a fundamental error in understanding what humanity represented, she wrote in her final report. They saw us as chaotic, unpredictable, and aggressive because we didn't follow their established patterns. What they failed to recognize was that we were evolutionary. Every human solution that seemed primitive or inefficient to them was actually more advanced than their methods. We didn't follow their procedures because we had developed better procedures. We didn't submit to their authority because we had grown beyond the need for their guidance. They feared our expansion not because we were conquering territory, but because we were outgrowing their civilization. Every human colony was an example of how much more could be accomplished without council limitations. President Heron Yang read this analysis while walking through the gardens of New Seoul, the mobile world that had once been a human colony near Kythera space. The gardens were larger and more beautiful than anything they could have built under council regulations. The air was cleaner, the water purer, the food more abundant. "Madam President," her aide Min Ji-han announced, "we're receiving another transmission from Nexus Prime." "From Chancellor Vextari?" "No, ma'am. From someone claiming to be the new emergency leader of the council. Apparently Chancellor Vextari was removed from office last month when the Nexus Prime life support systems failed." President Zhang sighed. This was the 15th such transmission they had received in the past 3 months. Each one came from a different council leader, as governments collapsed and reformed in endless cycles of crisis and blame. What do they want this time? The same thing they always want. They're offering to make humanity senior partners in a reformed council. They promise us leadership roles, favorable trade agreements, and complete autonomy over our internal affairs. And in exchange, they want us to come back and fix their civilization. President Zhang almost felt sorry for them. Even now, facing total collapse, they still didn't understand what had happened. They thought humanity had left because of the specific terms of their ultimatum. They believed that better terms would bring humans back. They had no idea that humanity had left because they had evolved beyond the need for the council entirely. "Send the standard response," President Zhang instructed. "Humanity appreciates their offer but declines to rejoin the council. We wish them well in solving their current difficulties." The standard response had been written by Ambassador Sun Hee Park, who had become humanity's voice to the galaxy. It was polite, diplomatic, and completely final. No negotiations, no counteroffers, no possibility of return. Commander Do-hyun Shin was establishing humanity's first colony in a previously unexplored galaxy when he received news of the latest council transmission. He was a young officer, barely 30, but he had been chosen to lead humanity's expansion into truly unknown regions of space. "Commander," his communications officer reported, "the council transmission included something new this time. They're not just asking us to return, they're warning us about the dangers of isolation." "What kind of dangers?" "They claim that there are hostile alien species in the regions we've moved to, unknown civilizations that might attack us. They say we need council protection to survive." Commander Shin looked at the sensor readings from his ship's advanced Element Zero detection systems. The galaxy they were entering contained at least 12 different spacefaring civilizations, none of which had any connection to the council's territory. "Have we detected any hostile activity from these unknown civilizations?" he asked. "No, sir. Several species have sent peaceful contact signals. They seem curious about us, but not threatening. One group has even offered to share star charts and trade agreements. Then send a message back to the council. Tell them that humanity has encountered the unknown civilizations they warned us about, and tell them that these species are much more welcoming than the council ever was." The truth was that humanity had found something in their new region of space that they had never experienced under council rule. Genuine partnerships. Species that wanted to learn from human expertise instead of controlling it. Civilizations that offered mutual cooperation instead of demanding submission. Trade Minister Byung-ho Ryu was negotiating humanity's first major agreement with the Veltar Confederation, a group of 6 species that had formed their own alliance based on equality and mutual benefit. The Veltar had developed impressive technology of their own, but they recognized that humanity's adaptive problem-solving abilities could benefit everyone. "The difference is remarkable," he reported to President Jiang. "When we worked with the Council, every negotiation was about what they would allow us to do. With the Veltar, every negotiation is about what we can accomplish together." Back in Council space, the final collapse was accelerating. The Kithara hives were cannibalizing their own colonies for resources. The ethereals were fading away as their energy networks failed. The architects' crystal cities were cracking and crumbling without proper maintenance. Chancellor Vexitari, now living in exile on a failing space station, sent one final desperate message to humanity. It was not an official council transmission, but a personal plea from someone who finally understood what had been lost. "Ambassador Park," he began, his translated voice carrying none of its former authority. "I know you will probably delete this message without reading it. I know humanity has no reason to trust anything I say, but I need to tell someone the truth. We were wrong. Not just about the ultimatum, not just about trying to control humanity, but about everything. We thought we were the advanced civilizations and you were the primitive ones who needed our guidance. We thought we were protecting the galaxy from human chaos. We were the chaos. We were the ones who couldn't adapt, couldn't grow, couldn't change. You were the ones holding everything together, and we were too proud to see it. I'm not asking you to come back. I understand that you found something better than what we offered. I just wanted someone to know that at least one of us finally understood what we threw away." President Jiang did read the message, but she didn't reply. There was nothing left to say to the Council. Humanity had moved beyond them, just as life moves beyond extinction events. Dr. Tae-Hyun-oh's latest research had produced Element Zero applications that seemed like magic even to human scientists. Instant communication across galactic distances, matter transmission, and defensive technologies that could protect entire star systems from any conceivable threat. "Sir," his research assistant asked, "should we share any of this technology with our new partners in the Veltar Confederation?" "Eventually," Dr. O replied, "but only after we're certain they understand that it comes with responsibility. The Council's mistake was thinking that advanced technology made them superior to others. We won't repeat that error." "What's the difference between us and the Council, then?" Dr. O looked out at the stars visible through his laboratory window, stars that belonged to civilizations that had welcomed humanity as equals, rather than trying to control them as subjects. "The Council used their technology to rule others," he said. "We'll use ours to explore the unknown together." As the first year of human independence ended, Commander Eunji Kang sent her final report from the deep exploration mission that had been mapping humanity's new territory. Her discoveries had exceeded every expectation. "The region we now call home contains resources beyond our wildest projections," she reported. "Element Zero deposits that could power our civilization for millions of years. Habitable worlds that could support trillions of humans. And perhaps most importantly, dozens of species that are eager to learn and grow alongside us." The Council feared that humanity would become too powerful if left unchecked. They were right to fear our power, but they were wrong about how we would use it.